everyone, welcome back. We're the Rebel Crows with your host Athena Silver.
Hi everybody, I'm Anja River.
Now, in the words of the late great Walter Mercado, mucho amor, we are talking about air signs and astrology tonight. We have a lot cooked up for you guys. We're going to be talking about the constellation stories and how they came across, and the three notable signs of the air in the zodiac. Aren't you excited, Anja?
I love this topic so much, and as somebody who is double air sign, I've got air signs up and down my chart. This is fun for me. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get into the episode. We're talking about the air signs. There are 12 zodiac signs in the calendar that encompass all of us as human beings through our birth month. Anja, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the air signs and what we should know, the basics getting into the zodiac and astrology as a whole.
Sure, yeah. So we're going to talk about air signs tonight. So we're going to leave it to the Geminis, the Libras, and the Aquariuses. And happy birthday, Aquarius. We love you. I'm an Aquarius, so happy birthday to me as well.
Definitely.
So as a whole, we're talking about the group of air. You have people who are very communicative, revolutionary. We have in our commonality, we're very philosophical beings. Air sign is about thought and communication. So, those two elements come down to each of the air signs. So we're very philosophical, and a lot of times what runs across the board of these three signs is that, we could sit there and think for hours and hours and hours. And sometimes the downside of all three sides is there's a little less action.
Yeah, I find air signs very spiritual as well. Because they have that philosopher, that seeking mentality. It's like they look for things that are intangible, like to quantify what they mean and to bring more understanding to themselves. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite pastimes, I think. I'll have to stop saying our. I'll try to keep it, impersonal, but it's something that, like, the air signs could just sit there all day and philosophize. Can you say that word? You know what I'm talking about.
No, I can't.
I know. So as a whole, that's kind of where we're all at. And then there's individual differences across the board. And of course, you have to keep in mind, if you are new to astrology, the sun sign is not the complete chart. There's so many planets in your chart. And so, there's so many different aspects of this, right? So this is not, if you are thinking from a perspective of just only the sun sign, it's not a complete story.
No. People are more complex.
Yeah, but the sun sign's a good overall, generalizer for the exterior.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So why don't we get into it? Why don't we start off by talking about Gemini tonight?
Yes.
So let's talk about the days for Gemini. If you were born between May 20th and June 20th, you're a Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about most notable Geminis being Marilyn Monroe, Johnny Depp is a Gemini, Angelina Jolie, and JFK, all notable Geminis. These people are usually very social, and they can do like multitasking pretty well. They're very hardworking people and usually very funny, quick-witted. The story that accompanies this constellation sign. Again, we got Zeus, who is hoeing around again, and we're talking about another one of his offsprings. not from his wife. For the story of Gemini, Zeus comes down in the guise of a swan, coming to get his freak on. He meets up with the queen of Sparta, and they have a child, coincidentally enough, by an egg. These kids were born from an egg. You know, the Greeks, they have some interesting takes on, you know, fertility. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Zeus watches over these kids. They're twins that were born from the egg, and one of them unfortunately passes away. And Zeus felt for that child, the remaining child, and felt very sorry for them. So he lifted them up and put them in the sky to become, you know, the Gemini constellation. This way that those children would be able to split their time between the stars and Hades. So they weren't just constantly in Hades. It was like giving them a second chance to be together. So it's a beautiful story. It's kind of sad. It's definitely dramatic. It's got a little of everything, I think, when it comes to, you know, a good tragedy.
Well, a little of everything is so Gemini.
I agree.
Very Geminian. All right. Well, so Gemini is a mutable sign, and it's the end of the season. And so that's exactly what mutable means. It's mutable people are very, very good with change. They're very good with change. And that's one of the reasons why Geminis tend to be such social butterflies, and why they blend in places and with different kinds of people. And, you know, it's just a very affable, like childlike, you know, I think of early spring, kind of early summer, you know, just this like pan kind of energy,
if you think about the notable Geminis that we spoke about, most of them are actors, politicians. You know, you're right. They're able to slip into other, you know, roles pretty easily and take things on.
Yeah. And that's because of, so I want you to understand though, the biggest thing is that it's about their ability. It's not a slipperiness. It's about truly their ability to understand how the dynamics work around them. And then they're able to access those parts of themselves to reflect that back. It's like, they're just really, really good with people, you know?
Yeah.
And that has to do with the communication aspect too, because you have their ruling planet is Mercury. Mercury rules communication. Therefore, Geminis are just expert communicators, you know? So this is like, but that's sort of almost the downside, you know, the shadow is also always playing off of the strengths, because a lot of times one of Gemini's most stereotypical criticisms is that they're flaky or slippery, you know. And I really think that that's a misunderstanding in most cases. I mean, there's, you know, 1/12 of the population is a Gemini, so we can't say that about everybody. But, you know,
but they also seem to have a lot of things going on at once. There are a lot of things to a lot of different people.
Yeah, a lot of balls in the air at once.
Yeah.
And you know, and that can be seen as a negative thing by people who don't understand, you know. And that's one of the themes through the air signs, is that I think especially for Gemini and Aquarius, it can be easily misunderstood by people.
Yeah.
You know, because there's just like such a big difference there. So I wanted to bring out the card for Gemini, because each sign has a ruling tarot card, and this is the Lovers. And the Lovers, so one of the reasons why the Lovers is the card for Gemini is because it's about twins, and Gemini is the twins. So what the idea is behind this is, you know, from a very simplified perspective, it's that this, you know, these two human figures in the card, the man and the woman is, you know, obviously they're a pair. So it's like a twin, you know, kind of imagery right there, even though they're the lovers.
Yeah.
They're two halves of a whole, you know. The woman is pointing up a little bit. She's more looking up, and that's an intuitive position. And the man is pointing down, or, you know, looking forward, and he represents physicality. So it's about the duality coming in and creating a whole, which is what Gemini is all about. And then you have the angel above. This is Raphael, who is represented by air, which is, you know, again, Gemini's ruling element. And this is the messages are coming down from the archangel Raphael into the pair through the woman. And that's, you know, that's representing the communication piece, which is what Gemini really, really excels at.
Yeah.
So this is the intuitive messages from above. So it's a beautiful card for Gemini, and Gemini. I have so much respect for Gemini. And I was one of those ones who misunderstood Gemini deeply. And now I feel like I have a much greater understanding. So definitely. I really love you guys.
Well, I think it's a little bit bittersweet for the Geminis. Ultimately, at the core base of them, they just want to be loved, you know, and but they're constantly at odds with themselves between the love that they feel is like idealized, like what they really want, the romanticized version, versus the type that they get. It's back to that misunderstanding that people have with who they are.
I think that could be partially because of the duality that Gemini expresses so much. If there's anything off balance in that particular individual, it can be felt even more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just a thought. It's a thought.
Well, all right, let's move on to Libra. All right, you beautiful Libras. If you are a Libra, you find yourself born between September 22nd and October 22nd. My dad's a Libra.
Oh yeah, that's right. You tell me a lot, and I always forget.
He's a cusp. So notable, very notable Libras are Eminem, the rapper, Vladimir Putin, Confucius, Big Willie Will Smith, and Kim Kardashian.
That's a mixed group there.
It is. Libras are very like beautiful people. Typically, they're usually very happy and like generous and charming. It's just you have to be careful with their charm, because they can snow you over and hang out and do other things behind that charm. So it depends on the Libra. But when we get into the constellation story about Libra, there is not much there, unfortunately. Libra, the constellation, has been known to many different civilizations for about 3,000 years, probably a bit more. It was used in navigation. It represents the balance between nature and justice. But unfortunately, there is no story or myth associated with this particular constellation. None that I could find, at the very least.
Well, that's interesting. We'll have to look into that. Yeah, that's
definitely
surprising. So Libra is a cardinal sign, and this is the beginning of the season. Sorry, excuse me. So Libra has, because it's a cardinal sign, it has a big gusto of this like creative energy and not as much staying power.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing that goes into the psyche of Libra, I think. Now Libras have a very, it's going to be hard to explain a little bit, but here's where I think Libras get misunderstood. So Libras have this diplomacy. Let's call it diplomacy. All right. Very fair-minded people. I have most of my planets in Libra. Unfortunately, I feel like it's a little bit, it gets frustrating, I think, for people sometimes, because there is this sense of like, I am so impartial about situations that I find it hard not to see the other point of view, almost to a fault, right? So I typically like, so I really identify with Libra a lot because I have so many planets in Libra. And one of my most annoying things, even to myself, is that I will consistently say, I hate to play devil's advocate, but, and then And then you can understand how that's very annoying to a friend who wants to vent to you, and you're just like, you hear it and you're like, I hate this
I
because
may
I
or
can
may
see the
not
other
be able
side.
to vouch for that.
About me.
As said friend.
You can vouch for that. I know
I can.
it's irritating even to myself, because sometimes, and this is such a Libra energy, sometimes I'll even do it to myself. And I was doing it as I was writing this out earlier today, and I was like, I can't even stop from doing it to myself. like what is this? But they make fine lawyers, because you can sort of like be impartial and take in all of this information, and this is not to say about the rest of, we're not just analytical people all the time. They're very, we, appreciate beauty. Libras appreciate relationships. They're also very affable people. So usually get along with a large number of groups of people, right? So,
yeah.
But on the bad side, we can have a hard time making up our minds, because we see all sides of things. So it can manifest into indecision or just not moving forward.
But weirdly enough, like sometimes it looks like people pleasing, but it's not. Like the Geminis will people please, but the Libras won't. They won't do something because they just don't want to do it, or they just don't see the value in it.
Right. So I wanted to show you the card for Libra is, of course, Justice.
Not surprised.
Me neither. And Justice has, I'm not good with left and right, but Justice has, well, in one of his hands he has a sword, and in the other hand he has a scale, and one is pointing up. The sword is pointing up, and the scales are pointing down, and the pillars, kind of represent to me like truth and like tradition, and all these like very pillory things holding up the pillars of society. Yeah, very, very so even and level-headed. Us Libras. It's a little boring. Sorry, guys.
Well, not all of the zodiacs can be as vibrant as some of the more dramatic ones. Leos, you know who you are.
Scorpios.
Virgos, you people too. But it's all out of love. Come on, guys. It's what makes us all different and unique and vibrant,
Yeah, right.
So anyway, let's get on to our last sign. Let's talk about Anja, because she's an Aquarius. If you are an Aquarius, you were born between January 19th and February 19th. You are the sign of the water bearer. Typically, they are known for being very humanitarian, caring, generous, lighthearted, kind of fun. The most notable ones that we have are my favorite, Bob Marley, Oprah, Ashton Kutcher, and Michael Jordan.
There you go.
Quite a mix.
So,
with the constellation story of Aquarius, this time, yes, it involves Zeus, but this time he is keeping his pants on. So
no,
good for Zeus. I know. He's not philandering at any point. Nobody is getting shook down by him. This is a different type of Zeus story. Zeus is just chilling, walking around. He sees a very young prince, one of the princes of Troy, and goes, that guy looks like he could carry a cup. I would like him to be a cupbearer. I think, like, in my mind, it's like a pimp cup situation. So it's like a bejeweled chalice thing, like, carry my cup, boy. That's where my mind goes, as this kid walking around with a bejeweled cup. Anyway, so they brought him back to Zeus's house on Mount Olympus to meet his wife, Hera. And you all know about Hera. She's a little frigid. She didn't really get along with the new cupbearer. She was not about him. It was jealousy, I think.
Yeah.
no, but she doesn't get anybody to carry around her fancy cup.
That's got to be it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Hera has it hard because her man is never home. So I feel for her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
She must
She's
be
got
lonely.
how many stepchildren does she have now?
Oh boy, you don't even. Oof. So anyway, this guy did such a good job with his bearing of the cup. And Zeus invited him as an honor to use the cup to let down and pour rain, and gave him the honor of being known as the rain god. So, I guess he was bearing that cup better than everybody, God
That's
status.
wonderful. That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Aquarius is a fixed sign, and that's right smack in the middle of the season. And I would say that means that there's like staying power or whatever, but I really feel like we blow with the wind, guys.
I can vouch for that. I'm an earth sign, so anybody being late is a little annoying to me, but you guys, you air signs take it to a whole nother level.
I'm pretty good about being on time. Depends whether I have the kids or not. But anyway, if you have an Aquarius in your life, if you're out there and you have an Aquarius in your life, I'm going to make a bet that you probably don't understand them. And that's okay.
No, probably not.
We are known for being walking contradictions. If you look at two of the biggest signs that were walking contradictions, we're ruled by Saturn and Uranus, and these are very, very, very different planets. Saturn is the keeper of time and death and, like just taxes and very like rigid. And then you have Uranus, who is the only planet that rotates up and down horizontally, right? So there that we're not the people. They always say about Aquarius that we march to our own drum beat, but I take offense to that cliche and say we march to the beat of our own synth. We get compared to aliens a lot, and
yeah, I see it.
There's good reasons for that, though. That I read somewhere once that I was like, I love whoever wrote this. They said that the reason for that is because we're 10 years ahead of our time. And that's difficult to be, in the world when you're 10 years ahead. And I don't mean that in a sense of saying the Aquariuses are better. We're just like living in the future somehow, like it's just where we're oriented.
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
So it's tough to be understood by everybody, especially traditionalists, because we tend to not be very traditional. Unless you were an Aquarius who was raised by hippies, you're probably not a traditional person.
Yeah.
There's
and even the ones that were raised by hippies are probably not traditional.
That's what I mean. Like they'll end up becoming traditional just to not be like their parents. But like there's this rebellious nature about Aquarius in general. And, I manifest that way. But there's also a very intellectual side, the philosophical side that we talked about before. Highly eccentric, and that's basically about all I want to say about it, except for I'm going to show you the card real quick. Definitely. So Aquarius's card is the Star. Oh, and I forgot to mention one of the other reasons why we're a walking contradiction is because we're an air sign that includes water. Go figure. I don't get it. Earth. like I don't think there's even another sign that mixes the elements like that. And you just don't know. Like a lot of people are like, isn't Aquarius water? The symbol is the water, and you're like, no.
Are always very hopeful people. Like they always look on the bright side when they're faced with adversity or a challenge, like they don't let that challenge define them, they're like, we're going to get over this and figure out a way, which is nice to be able to be that kind of fluid.
Yeah. Right. And this is about, and Aquarius is very much about like progression and trying to make a better world for humanity and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Look at that lady bearing that cup like a boss.
I believe in it and all. I just say blah, 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 because it's like, you hear it so much and you're just like, yes, I know. There was also one more thing. I actually learned this about this card today, and I had never noticed this bird. And this bird is apparently the ibis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The sacred ibis of thought. And so, in the tree of the mind. So that's actually like very, very beautiful. I can't believe I didn't know that before.
Yeah. Well, Thoth is associated with higher thinking, divine connection, and like enlightenment and stuff like that, and like magic and witchcraft and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's very much the star card in general. So
yes. Oh, good. Definitely.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you guys for joining us for this wonderful episode on air signs. And if you're an air sign, make sure you comment and let us know. We want to know all you air signs and who's who. We put out a podcast episode every week on Thursdays on YouTube and on all major podcasting platforms. I'm Athena Silver. I'm a professional psychic medium. This is my information here, or reach out to me through my website, readingswithathenasilver.com. And my Instagram is athena.silver, and my TikTok is athena_silver. How about you, Anja? How do they get a hold of you?
All right. So I am now a certified hypnotherapist. Yay! Got my certification. And I also read tarot cards, and you can reach me at Anja River, ANJARIVER, either on Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Anja. We are all very proud of you.
Thank you.
Me the most.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.